Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny laid to rest this morning in Moscow, drawing a defiant crowd of over 1,000 chanting, "We are not afraid, don't be afraid," as the hearse carrying Navalny's body arrived at the Moscow church just a few hours ago. And there was heavy security for this funeral, and those organizing and those attending in person taking an immense risk after the Kremlin warned against what they called unauthorized illegal gatherings. Thousands more followed the solemn procession online, including Navalny's widow, Yulia Navalnaya, who is not physically there today because of the threats of arrest that she herself is facing from the Kremlin. NBC's Matt Bodner has been monitoring it all for us and is joining us in London. And also with us, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO, retired General Wesley Clark. Thank you both for being here. Matt, what's your reaction to the thousands, it appears, taking to the streets just weeks before elections there and in spite of these warnings from the Kremlin?
Well, thank you, Anna. I would say it's very interesting what we're seeing in Russia today, bordering even on incredible when you consider what these people are facing, what they're risking. I mean, when you look at some of the footage we see today, about 1,000 people is what we're hearing from the Navalny camp, and it looks about that. It's just incredible to consider that every single person in that shot essentially has every reason not to be there. If they get picked up by the police sometime today, at best, they're facing a substantial fine. They can, of course, be released. But this opens up a legal pathway to the Russian government, charging them ultimately with 15 years in prison. And we've seen over the past 2 years, Russian authorities, they've kind of for a long time now had these theoretical maximums at their disposal, but we've seen these tools used much more liberally against just peaceful demonstrators, ordinary people. One thing Russians can do to protest by law is single person pickets. We've even seen that infringed on a lot in the past 2 years. So we're getting a good look at where Russia's at right now. And it's just extremely interesting, as I mentioned, that the police, for the most part, appear to have allowed the procession to take part today. It is finished now. Navalny has been buried. There are still crowds. But we've only seen a report of one arrest in Moscow from an opposition outlet. And we've seen reports from other Russian media around the country suggesting small-scale arrests, but nothing like we've seen in the past. So that is interesting. At the same time, though, it was also an interesting look at the state of the opposition in Russia right now.
Yeah, I'm curious about that specifically, and I just want to let our viewers know what they're looking at here is at the burial site of Navalny, where you can still see people gathered there. What does the opposition to Putin look like now, Matt, given this sudden death of Navalny in the Russian prison colony, a death his widow and other supporters have described as murder, but Russian officials are holding it was natural causes?
Correct. So I think today, in various aspects, we got a good look at what's left of the Russian opposition. Obviously, within Russia, let's look at who attended the funeral, who were kind of in Navalny's circle. There were his parents, the parents of another opposition leader, one of his close associates who's also in prison. His name is Ilya Yashin. His parents were there. We saw a prominent opposition mayor, a former mayor from another city, also showing up. So what the remnants within Russia of the opposition showed up today. So we got a glimpse of what's still on the ground, but we also saw who's outside and still involved. And we saw Navalny's organization putting out a live stream coverage the entire time, just like they used to. So there is this real sense that they are trying to turn this into a moment to build momentum. I think you can feel that.
Matt,
Anna?
Thank you very much for your reporting. General, this all comes against the backdrop of the war in Ukraine. Today, the Kremlin is criticizing these comments from Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin during his testimony on Capitol Hill yesterday. Listen.
Quite frankly, if Ukraine falls, I really believe that NATO will be in a fight with Russia.
The Kremlin calling these comments extremely irresponsible. General, how do you see it? What happens if Ukraine falls?
Well, I think if Ukraine falls, that the Russians will move on to other countries. Moldova's already under threat. Putin's considering whether he's going to respond to a request from Transnistria to be protected from Moldova and Ukraine. And this would put another action in place of conflict in Eastern Europe. And then he's going to go after the Baltic states, Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, and Poland. And they've been very clear that this is the plan. So this Kremlin attack on Lloyd Austin is just a typical propaganda ploy by somebody trying to create controversy. What Secretary Austin said is it's our best forecast of Kremlin plans, and there will be action against NATO. So it's absolutely critical that the United States provide assistance to Ukraine and stop this aggression in Ukraine before it expands to inflame the rest of Europe.
And the billions of dollars in additional Ukraine aid are just lingering out there right now, just hanging as the lawmakers on Capitol Hill continue to wrestle over that legislation. General, this week, French President Macron actually raised the possibility of sending not just aid to Ukraine, but actually putting boots on the ground, NATO boots on the ground, to fight against Russia in Ukraine. Putin then saying in a speech before Parliament that they risked provoking a nuclear war if that happened. Do you take Putin at his word?
Well, I think that, first of all, I think this issue that President Macron brought up, it's a very courageous statement on his part. This has been behind the scenes discussed ever since Russia started to move in, because everyone understands that if you want to stop aggression in Europe by Putin, you got to stop it in Ukraine. And if we can't get the assistance to Ukraine that they can fight it themselves, perhaps there is a requirement to put NATO troops in there. And that's what Macron is expressing. Now, Putin is using his nuclear threats because so far they've worked. They have intimidated our government, and they've led to these red lines that have delayed assistance again and again and again. Look, we had the chance, Anna, to have finished this war against Ukraine in the summer of 2021 and early in 2022 if we had promptly provided them the equipment they asked for, the artillery, the aircraft, the other material. Instead, we dillied and we dallied and we delayed on this to such an extent that we gave the Russians a chance to recover, to build those defenses that blocked the counteroffensive last September. And so now we're in a different position. 2024 is going to be a very difficult time for Ukraine. And I think President Macron was right to make this suggestion. And I hope the nations are seriously considering it and won't be intimidated and bullied by Mr. Putin with his nuclear threat.
The U.S. has already dismissed or tamped down this suggestion from the French president about putting troops on the ground there in Ukraine. Obviously, the risk of escalation is something that is a big consideration there. General Wesley Clark, thank you very much for the conversation. It's good to see you.